The Comme des Garçons universe that legendary fashion designer Rei Kawakubo has been painstakingly building since 1969 is a testament to independence and individuality in fashion. No other brand or collective can boast such otherness and influence in the industry while achieving enough financial success to foster multiple brands, brand investments, and a luxury retailing franchise in Dover Street Market under its umbrella, similar to the likes of big fashion conglomerates like LVMH and Kering. Over the years, Kawakubo has provided a platform to jumpstart the careers of many like-minded and now successful designers, like Junior Watanabe and Chitose Abe of Sakai, but the latest addition to the tribe has proven to be the most reclusive and abstract of them all. With an insatiable hunger for the avant-garde, and aberration from typical steps in the design process like sewing, mood boarding, and referencing, the final child of the Comme des Garçons family stands alone in the banal world of modern fashion. Say hello to the prince of Comme des Garçons, Kei Ninomiya. Unlike many fabled designers, Ninomiya had never planned to take this route. He didn't always have an aptitude for drawing, he wasn't into fashion since birth or any other common fairy tale traits like that. Born in 1984 in Oita, a city in southern Japan, Ninomiya grew up with his two parents who were teachers, so he naturally developed a taste for literature, which he'd go on to pursue at the tertiary academic level. Growing up in 1990s Japan inevitably meant that he would be exposed to wondrous and varied styles of fashion. When speaking about this time, Ninomiya stated, "Fashion in the 1990s was very strong in Japan. Many subcultures were emerging and it was a strong tool of expression for the youth. The often romanticized, colorful, and playful styles of the youth that previously flooded Fruits magazines and Pinterest today were of course juxtaposed against Japan's strong breakthrough in Paris during the previous decade with designers like Issey Miyake, Yohji Yamamoto, and of course Rei Kawakubo. Although he has previously stated that he doesn't know what or when his entry into fashion was, we can consider it to be Comme des Garçons, as there is actually a Comme des Garçons storefront in Oita during his childhood, as well as another one that he would frequent beside the Aoyama Gakuen University in Tokyo when he studied French literature in the 2000s. Throughout several interviews, Ninomiya has explained his longtime reverence and admiration for the trailblazing brand, stating that he could remember wearing lots of Comme des Garçons in his youth, and upon discovering the brand, he wanted to work with Rei Kawakubo in some way. This influence goes even deeper as through the works of Kawakubo, Ninomiya decided that although he was always a creator, fashion would be the best medium to fully express his ideas to a large audience because it's something that everybody can see. Pair this with his admiration for Kawakubo and his drive for the unconventional, he decided to study fashion at the esteemed Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Antwerp after completing his French literature studies in the late 2000s. His stated reasons were that although he would create small objects and swaths of fabric, he had no clue on how to actually make patterns or clothes or work with the technology necessary for these things, but he did want to work for Comme. Faced with his own inadequacy and ambition, along with the story design collective the Antwerp Six being loosely mentioned in an interview with Whitewall as an influence in his younger years, the Royal Academy seemed like the right move for him. And well, yeah, now we know that this was definitely the right choice. At Antwerp, he learned how to explore his creativity and different creation techniques, but according to him, it was pretty much just him doing what he always did, and teachers would say if it was okay or not. He continued his studies here until an opportunity in the summer of 2008 changed everything. There was a job opening at Comme des Garçons for pattern making, and after applying, Ninomiya interviewed with Junior Watanabe and was hired on the spot according to L'Officiel Malaysia. I can't imagine the pressure of having to interview with the second in command, the legendary Junior Watanabe, to get a job at Comme des Garçons. Like, that is some serious quality control, Jesus Christ. But yeah, he got through and reached his goal of working for Comme, and as a result, he dropped out of Antwerp. I repeat, he did not graduate from Antwerp. So many sources on the internet will tell you that he did, but he did not. It is simply not possible with the real timeline that we have today. Hashtag bad journalism. Throughout the years, Ninomiya has had a lot to say about his time working for Comme des Garçons. He was pushed by Kawakubo and as a result deepened his knowledge in pattern making and explored new ways of expression. Of course, obviously things like the development of his current design language can be deduced from his time working under Kawakubo. For example, the same methodology of extracting as much as you can in your design from just a handful of keywords, which he uses at his brand today, was enforced on him back then at Comme des Garçons. But above all, when speaking about his time there, Ninomiya states that the work was extremely difficult. Although he found some similarities between the Antwerp professors and Kawakubo in how he would present his creations and they would both say yes or no, he explained how it's so difficult to produce something to Kawakubo's standards when she gives you words like new to work with. And it's like, how do you extract something that's never been seen before out of your mind on purpose? Like intentionally, like go ahead and try and think of something like like a new color, right? You've seen so many things before and something is only new for a moment. Artistically, that's very hard to achieve and it gets harder as time goes by. Not only was he under a lot of pressure at Comme des Garçons, but he was also tasked to create commercial pieces that would prove to be successful with buyers at showroom presentations. And this role definitely aided him in selling pieces for his own label, as his runway looks are unwearable for like 99% of people. But unless you're Bjork, but we'll get to that later. Ninomiya grew behind the scenes where most pattern makers for brands reside for 4 years, and the combination of the commercial success of his designs along with proving himself to be a creative powerhouse to Rei Kawakubo prompted her to give him the backing and confidence to create his own brand in 2012 under the Comme des Garçons umbrella. Ninomiya described this process as a simple, efficient, and straightforward conversation. Kawakubo also suggested the name Noir as she thought Kei should focus on one thing for the brand. And of course, black is his favorite color, explaining over the years how it is strong and beautiful, and with black you can see the different nuances and qualities of fabrics best, and he only uses color to enforce black. You can see how it fit right into CDG. So with that, in 2012, his Spring-Summer 13 collection was privately presented in the Comme des Garçons Parisian headquarters at Place Vendôme, and Noir K. Ninomiya was born. We've spoken so much about his life and journey up until this point, but he's of course a notable figure because of the clothes. The only comparisons his brand could attract are to others in the Comme des Garçons universe. Outside of their exclusive circle, Ninomiya's brand truly stands alone. Throughout every interview you can find with this man, I mean every single one thing constantly remains at the forefront of his process: the drive to create something never before seen that can actually be worn. Ninomiya explains explicitly in an interview with Alexander Seiden for One Granary issue 4 that he just wants to make really normal things that he wants to wear, that people want to wear. It's not art pieces that he's creating, it's clothes. When you think back to his pseudo role of product tester at Comme des Garçons, this makes sense, despite the runway pieces being extremely hard for even a seasoned fashion enthusiast to see themselves wearing. He's contradicted himself in interviews throughout the year, saying that he has no inspirations to document journal in 2015, but then saying that he has a lot of inspirations actually to One Granary in 2016, so make of his process what you will. But according to him, he never directly uses a mood board, and if he does, it's near the end of the collection. He never has a muse, he doesn't usually take inspiration from music or movies or things like that, and he doesn't really prioritize narratives in his clothes, nor does he care too much to explain them. The last part is partially due to an absence of narrative mostly, and in a world of fashion where sometimes the narratives are made up for the clothes after they're created and there feels like there's some pressure for the clothing to have some type of meaning for it to be worthwhile, Ninomiya just doesn't play by those rules. He's very intent on following his own design instincts, and a lot of his pieces take shape based off of whatever material he's working with, along with the fact that he always strives to make something strong and beautiful, which is probably why his dresses always end up being so voluminous and eye-catching, according to him. For someone who is constantly on a mission to find and create the new, they have to have the right tools and methods to do so. As a result, a large amount of Ninomiya's clothing does not include stitching. He's done entire collections without stitching, and it takes a huge talking point in a lot of interviews with him. One of the most recognized methods he employs is the attachment of small laser-cut geometric modules through linking or snapping into place or studding. These small modules are mass multiplied, and when they all form together, you get the classic, often symmetrical physical manifestation of Ninomiya's taste. He doesn't create things like this just to impress people, he's genuinely obsessed with pushing the boundaries of what can be done and classified as clothing. The inner workings of his garments are often where the secret to his impossible creations lie. In the previously mentioned One Granary interview with Alexander Seiden, when asked what his favorite piece from the Autumn-Winter 16 collection was, he brought out a black scarf that was composed of 100 small polyester modules laced within one another and attached by small studs, each connected to a separate patch of fake fur. You can only understand the psychotic levels of never-before-seen craftsmanship that this man employs when you look on how the garments are really put together, and those who have seen a Noir K. Ninomiya garment themselves can attest to that. From the store offerings to the runway, it's never simple with him, not even a classic biker jacket, a favorite piece of his. He often works with a wide range of materials, from the conventional leather and wool to the unconventional plastic and soil. I'm trying to get this point across. There is nothing off limits for this man. He is hell-bent on creating something new, and whatever seems too crazy is right up his avenue. But he wasn't always that audacious from the start. This video won't recap every show he's done, but I do want to track his progress, so walk with me. I unfortunately couldn't find pretty much any info on his first collection, so we'll take a look at the one immediately after that, Fall Winter 13. He gave a bit of insight on this collection in an interview with Fashion Headline. His second show saw an increase in the number of items they produced, going from 18 in his debut to 48 this time around, and he stated that he focused on the conflict of merging the organic with inorganic and knitwear. It was directly inspired by seeing crows form nests out of wires and materials they found around the city, and he was wondering if he could emulate that resourcefulness and look in his clothing. In my opinion, he pulled it off, and the pieces that were on display and available for purchase for a limited time at the Isetan Shinjuku store from July 10th to 16th had lots of nest-like spores of knit material and varying size holes throughout them. We also saw glimpses of Ninamiya's technique of multiplying small modules to connect over an entire piece for a bomber jacket. The pieces were knit together, and a sleeveless dress with this large half-moon fixture on the front. The outerwear pieces that contain the knitted nest seem to be made from some form of non-organic material, so hopefully this is not a reach when I say that he displayed the conflict of natural and unnatural there. I think the pieces are beautiful. I know I'd kill for that blazer. His prices started off at 20 to 50,000 yen for bottoms, 60 to 140,000 yen for outerwear, and at 20 to 30,000 range for his shirts, 10,000 for cotton sew. Ninamiya stated that he wanted the youth to actually be able to afford and wear his clothing, and he's not just creating things to be put in a museum. He wants his clothes to inspire people through actually wearing them. And to be honest, yeah, even today his prices are really not that bad if you consider like the fact that he's making clothing with these insane techniques, and he's not even that big of a luxury brand like say Gucci or Burberry, and they're charging ridiculous prices for like trash bucket hats. His design steadily grew from baby steps into the world of the unexplainable, into a full-on run, into a sprint. He continued to display his unconventional methods of construction in his Spring-Summer 14 collection, experimenting with laser-cut leather and using grommets to bridge together evening wear pieces. For his Fall-Winter 14 collection, he explained to Katrina Israel in a feature for Wallpaper magazine that countless strips of material were connected with rings or tape and shaped into garments. Yeah, the no-sewing thing was most definitely already present, and Spring-Summer 15 was another no-sew with faux leathers and fabrics being folded, molded, layered, and attached together with studs. Spring-Summer 16 was the first collection of his to be covered by Vogue Runway. I could talk all day about the various techniques that he employed for the show, but we really would be here all day. And I did find a wonderfully detailed breakdown of a lot of the components of the pieces from this collection on thecuttingclass.com, so I'll be posting some of those on screen now. And for all of you aspiring designers out there, maybe you'll find it useful enough to check out on your own. Bjork actually wore the piece from look 3. I can't confirm the year at all, but you'll see later in this video that she is a huge fan of his. He continued to experiment with the materials he would use for these garments as well as the shapes they would make, and his use of other colors to complement the black, like red for Fall Winter 17 and white for Spring Summer 18. He seriously kicked it up a notch for his official Paris debut Fall Winter 18 collection in March. I say official debut because yes, although he was showing at the Comme des Garçons headquarters in France for all those years, there were private affairs that grew in press coverage over time. This was the first collection he did outside the headquarters, and it was at the Faculté de Pharmacie de Paris. The pieces had a new sense of strength that I believe was formed from the sheer completion of each look. Previous collections would have models showing lots of skins or the pieces being translucent, but these looks showed no color experimentation whatsoever, and the forms were as encompassing as they had been up until that point. And yes, you guessed it, no stitching. This show also featured a collaboration with the Japanese floral artist Azuna Makoto to create headpieces of live soil, flowers, foliage, and other tropical elements. We've seen the Tangent Flows by Hussein Chalayan in 1993 and the Wave is Spring-Summer 23 menswear, but this was different. One could speculate that Ninamiya was making some type of commentary on this or that, but when questioned backstage by journalists and reporters alike, he simply stated, "What can I say? I use the contrasting elements and things to make a new power. I want to make a new atmosphere, a new feeling." 2018 was a big year for K in general with the launch of his 2 collaborations with the Moncler Genius line. When speaking about this collaboration, Kay stated that it was all about creativity and to find a way to reinterpret an iconic piece such as the down jacket, and he explored an idea of wearable geometry, pushing the limits of the vet from both a technical and an aesthetic viewpoint, striving for innovation in both fields. The result of these collections was the marriage of Ninomiya's unconventional textures and pathways of materials in the conventional outerwear shapes, giving them an air of practicality his runway designs do not always lend consumers. From here on out, we see greenery make several more appearances in his shows, the inclusions of multiple colors past black and white, and a myriad of moods and silhouettes ranging from light innocence to malevolence to rather playful outings. It's so intriguing seeing this man. I wish I could say designer more often, but he stated that he's not all too comfortable with being called a designer. Approach clothing with this almost childlike sensibility of just instinctively creating anything that he can imagine and trusting his own mind and where it will take him throughout means nobody has ever seen before. I hope you are all grasping what I'm saying and the magnitude of importance and bravery that this man holds. He is making clothes quite literally in ways nobody has ever done. It might not seem like much, but I'm saying he's brave because most people are terrified of being the first to do something because they don't know how it will be received or how it will turn out. But this man isn't even really courageous, he just doesn't care. He does it all for himself, and that's a true creator right there, man. He's damn right for not wanting to be put in the same box as these designers because they can't mess with him. This is what it looks like when a designer doesn't have to worry too much about pleasing shareholders or where the money for the collection is going to come from. And I agree with Ninomiya where he stated to One Granary in 2016, I just want more people in the world to make clothes with the same type of stance. Pure creation, just trying to make something never seen before. I will now be giving some of my opinions on his designs and collections as a whole, mainly since his Paris debut, because I'd love to hear what you guys think of them and what you have to add to the conversation. I find a lot of his looks in every collection to come off as protection to the wearer, especially as some sort of defense mechanism coming directly out of them after they've been like disturbed, kind of like plants. I also see imagery of the wearer being engulfed by the creations, and depending on the color or materials used, the moods of these situations could vary from a state of peace and warmth to dark magic and romance to rebirth and growth from within to pure childlike joy to combinations of futuristic technology and life force energy forming advanced armor. Oh my god, I'm a nerd. I also think for most collections there is like one or two guest colors that make their appearance to spice things up and complement the black, which is indeed something that Ninomiya has confirmed he does, at least with white, and these colors, like previously stated, dictate the moods. The runway sets play a huge part into it, again, something that Ninomiya stated, right? And they generally go hand in hand with the creations to push whatever mood Ninomiya is trying to create. Like, for instance, the goofy, wacky show that was Fall Winter 24 was held in a lighter environment, so you can imagine everybody was at ease, but a show like Fall Winter 22 certainly does have something a bit more sinister about it, like just based off of the lighting. Even if he didn't say it before, you can tell that he's very thorough about these things. He most definitely does wish for his clothing to be worn, as even in his most abstract and conceptual collections, there are regular pared down looks including blazers, button down shirts, skirts of tulle or leather, and even his collaboration with Reebok to imagine the Instapump Fury sneakers debuted in the Autumn Winter 24 show, and his collaboration with classic French ballet flat company Repetto for Fall Winter 23. A recurring theme is plants and his use of plant headpieces made by Akuma Makoto, and I think there could be some lines drawn between this recurrence and his design philosophy. He sees black as a huge void for in which perpetual rebirth can be facilitated, and plants also have a classic connotation of rebirth throughout things like literature, cough cough, he's into French, English, and Japanese literature, and other art forms. So this constant use of plants probably just ties into his interest in growth, the constant strive for something new, and the previously stated rebirth he sees in black. I'm trying to get as philosophical and as critical about that as I can, but that's kinda all I got about the whole plant stuff. There's definitely a sense of humor in his work, especially seen in Autumn Winter 24, and he himself doesn't present a grand, deep question to fashion or anything like that. And one could even call his work repetitive because outside of the robe color each collection and small set design elements, most people who tune into the brand knows what they're gonna most likely get. And that's BDSM components in clothes, romantic elements like corsetry, tulle, and sometimes lace, black voluminous shapes, and unconventional methods of construction in the clothes that most likely don't have a strong narrative but a strong goal. Ninomiya tries to offset and avoid repetitive allegations by doing things like switching the color and using different materials and a collab here and there, but I can definitely see people asking the question of whether or not that's enough. Because of course with a designer who holds strong and steadfast taste and design identity like Ninomiya, the end result probably won't vary too much, and the more unique you are, the more you have to outdo yourself every time. But this would only be a problem for those who demand fashion to be a new and spectacular showcase every season, as if designers are supposed to reinvent their brand every 6 months. So I think he'll be fine. Did I just create a problem for his brand that isn't real and solve it? Yes, I did. Just to get the rest of the Bjork cosigns out of the way, she did wear Noir K Ninomiya Spring Summer 24 for her feature in Purple Magazine's The Essence of Fashion issue 41. She wore 3 separate looks from 3 separate collections for her Coachella performance in April 2023, a few looks for her Cornucopia tour in 2022, her performance at Olay Fest in 2022, a few looks for her 2020 performance in Tokyo, and lastly when she threw a rave under a bridge in Williamsburg, New York in May 2024. So yeah, only highlighting her because I don't think any other celebrity has really gone as hard for his stuff as she did, and if you're a Bjork fan and you understand what Ninomiya's work is all about, then you think that it makes perfect sense because it does. He's an editorial and red carpet sweetheart, and other clients of his include Ariana Grande, Erykah Badu, Troye Sivan, and Ciara. Now, understand that in the design world, 40 years old is a really good age, and with over a decade of experience under his belt, I truly believe that his best work is yet to come. He's only going to get more recognition as the time goes on, and we shouldn't worry about him selling out or losing sight of his vision. I really don't think he's that type of designer, I think it's so important, and we could very well be looking at a legend in the making. If he does prove to be the final addition to the Comme des Garçons family, then what a way for Reika Okubo to end her family tree. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it, and if you want to see more fashion content about the things I'm interested in, then I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed and left a comment with what you thought about this video or Ninomiya or anything really. I love to discuss these things with you guys, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.